everyone. Welcome to the February Arch General Meeting. Thank you for joining us, both in person and online. And thank you as we transition to hybrid meeting. We're continuing to refine our technology as we learn. And I have the great news to say that we have acquired an OWL meeting camera, which for those of you who have been in meetings with the OWL, it's pretty amazing. And we'll be able to utilize that in the future. A reminder that you must register for in-person and Zoom seats. We're seat limited or space limited here at the library for now due to the construction that you all noticed as you were probably trying to park. And so they've asked us to limit the meeting to 30 people. So please, even if you're coming here in anticipation of Andy and Liz's meeting afterward for HMIS, go ahead and register for this meeting because we are trying to make sure we don't burden the library system. A couple of things. First, for those of you online, my chat is on the screen. So I would suggest that you not send me any private messages because everyone here in attendance will see it on the screen, or do, but just know that that's what's going to happen. Secondly, please introduce yourself, drop your name, and if applicable, your organization or your company affiliation in the chat. A reminder to please mute yourself when you aren't speaking. We're going to have plenty of Q&A time and open conversation at the end, as well as updates. And that'll be an opportunity for you to take yourself off of mute or drop your questions in the chat. And then lastly, a reminder that this is being recorded and streamed. Thanks to AOC Community Media for always making sure that our meetings are accessible to everyone. If you'd like to access this meeting later, please visit the AOC YouTube page or the Arch Facebook page. We'll both be posting it for review. And if you need the direct link, just shoot me a message, elsa@archacadiana.org. For those of you for whom this is your first Arch General Meeting, we talk about everything in this meeting from homelessness. Let me go ahead and admit some people. From homelessness to housing, everything in between, everything that intersects with those worlds and those services and that work. And in addition, we have updates at each meeting from partner agencies. And then we also spend some entire meetings having expansive updates and conversations between practitioners. But we welcome practitioners, planners, developers, interested community members, those with lived experience, and we welcome you today. In order to respect our guests' time and yours, we're going to begin today's meeting with a really special conversation. It's actually a conversation that I think needs to happen more across the nonprofit landscape, and that's between leaders of organizations and programs that are in different phases of their missions, but who share similar goals and service populations. And so in seeking this perspective, I cold called Sharon Martins, who is the Executive Director of Household Goods, which is a Massachusetts-based organization that provides donated furniture and household items free of charge to help tens of thousands of households in need annually, to help them make homes and restart. And I asked her to have this exact conversation with you all, but specifically with Rachel Hayden, who is Arch's Share House Director, sharing their experiences, their growth stories so far, and the nonprofit life cycle. And so without further ado, welcome Sharon and Rachel. I know I saw Sharon join earlier. There she is. So let's start at the beginning. Sharon, can you talk a little bit about the history of Household Goods? What's the origin story and what is your mission and scope now?
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Elsa. This is kind of fun. It's the middle of a snowstorm here today, so it's nice to be thinking about the warm South. So Household Goods, we furnish 2,500 homes each year for about 8,000 people. And Household Goods origin story is a little bit different than most organizations because I think most organizations start with somebody wanting to begin an organization. And household goods started really depending on what you believe, if it was fate, divine intervention, or just luck. A woman who was trying to find furniture for her sister who had fled the violence in El Salvador in 1990 called a church in the area, and our founder, Barbara Smith, happened to answer the phone. And the woman asked Barbara if the church could help her furnish a home for her sister who was going to be moving into the town. And Barbara said, yes, we can help. So she offered up her carport as a collection point, and they received more furniture that they could use just from a little posting in the church bulletin. And so she and her husband, Ira, they figured that, well, you know what, we'll call the Acton Housing Authority. Acton is the town that we're in, about 25 miles northwest of Boston. And there was a little misunderstanding there, and the person at the housing authority thought they meant, oh, if people need furniture, they should call Barb and Ira. And so they put their phone number in the housing newsletter. And being the amazing, generous, compassionate people they are, their phone kept ringing and they kept saying, yes, we'll help. And since then, Household Goods has furnished over 50,000 homes for people in need.
Wow.
Years. And all because she answered the phone and said yes.
Well, that's kind of how it starts a lot of the time, but thank you so much. Rachel, can you talk a little bit about when Share House began and why, and where are we now?
Sure. So Share House was started in 2020, basically to continue on the work of the mission that CUPS had. CUPS is Communities United in Prayers and Service. They were an organization whose mission was dedicated basically to provide individuals within the community that were being housed out of homelessness and reestablishing households after natural disaster, to provide those people with gently used household items and furniture free of charge to them. Their mission was interrupted, and that did provide a gap in the continuum of care within the community. So, you know, there are places that people can go to get furniture and necessities, but unfortunately, a lot of times they don't have a vehicle, no way to go and pick up these items. And so nobody else in the community was able to provide a service where we're actually bringing it to people free of charge. And so that's something that we are doing here, kind of in continuing with the mission that CUPS established here in the same building. Currently, we are working with partner agencies in the area. We work with almost everyone, the Outreach Center, the VA, Faith House, Catholic Charities, Beacon, pretty much anybody that rings my phone is able to get help from me. So currently that's what we're doing. We're providing these services to clients from all local agencies so that they can reestablish themselves and get the basic necessities they need to start a home.
Thanks, Rachel. So Sharon, what's your personal journey to this work? Can you tell us a little bit about you and what's your role now? You know, what does your typical day look like?
Sure. So I'm actually a speech pathologist by education, and I have been working at Household Goods for 13 years. It sort of came here by luck. I was looking for a job closer to home that was more operationally based and just to get out of the direct practice. And I saw an ad for Household Goods and I hadn't even heard about it. It's 5 miles from my house. And at the time I hadn't even heard about it. And I just fell in love with the organization. We're primarily volunteer run. And so just coming in every day to the volunteers who are here day in and day out is just, it's an amazing experience. And I'm so inspired by them every day.
Thank you. And I can't wait to hear about logistically how this works. But Rachel, tell me a little bit about how you got to where you are and what does your typical day look like?
Well, I guess I kind of have a similar story. I come from a different background. My background is in restaurant management. I did that for years and years. I was a GM and really enjoyed working in restaurants. I love food service. I love to feed people. And I love to make money. And so fortunately, working in restaurant management was really, really good for all of those things. But 2020 kind of made me reevaluate a lot of things and kind of just decide what was important. My restaurant did shut down in 2020 and I moved home. And from there, I didn't really know what I was going to do because most restaurants were shuttered due to COVID. And there weren't a lot of opportunities here for me. And so at that point, I needed to kind of figure out what I was going to do. So I accepted a temp position at Arch, helping them prepare office things, documents, and things like that for an audit. And kind of just fell in love with the organization, fell in love with the mission, decided I really kind of didn't want to leave, but I didn't really want to work in the office either because I'm not really an office worker. But fortunately, I think everybody here liked me enough to allow me to stick around and enable me to kind of join the Share House team, which at that point was Mary Pritchard. And she had one warehouse employee. And so they let me join her. And so it was the three of us able to kind of get things done. It's a kind of a crazy process here. And it's a lot coming in, a lot going out, a lot of demand and need. And so the three of us kind of tackled it head on, and we were a good team. But unfortunately, finances didn't really work out in the way that we would have liked them to. And so now I'm an army of one. But I do have a very, very kind, generous spouse who is willing to donate all the hours and all the time to help me move furniture and provide these things for the people that need them. A typical day for me is usually driving a truck and trailer and picking up couches and bedding and necessities from donors, usually bringing them straight to clients if I'm lucky and I've written a good schedule for the day. I can pick things up and just bring them directly to the people that need them. And that's a typical day for me, other than donation days when I usually do administrative duties, organizing and dealing with clients and talking to agencies.
So Sharon, you can see that we're a pretty small operation so far, but I was curious, can you talk a little bit about logistically how Household Goods works, both from a donor and a client perspective? How do people access resources? Is it referral based, et cetera?
So our donor, we get most of our donations when people drop it off. So we're open to accept donations 3 mornings a week. And we are open for clients. We have 8 distribution shifts a week. So during our donation shifts, people don't need an appointment. They can drive up. We try to educate them about what we will and won't take, especially around the quality piece. And we do have some limited pickups. That's something that's been hard for us to come back from COVID because we use volunteers to do all of our pickups. We have 2 box trucks, but a lot of our volunteers are older, and going into people's homes wasn't something that they feel comfortable with, and carrying furniture up and downstairs is difficult. So that's a challenge for us, but we still get the majority of our donations through drop off, which is amazing. For our clients, all of our clients are referred by a social service agency. We're very open to the type of agency that can refer to us. It could be a small church, it could be a school, or it could be some of our larger organizations that work with the homeless population in the city. We cover all of Massachusetts, and most of our clients sort of come from like Eastern and Central Mass, like a sort of half the state. The way that we're working now is that we have 8 distribution shifts a week, and we schedule 5 clients to come the first hour of it and 5 clients to come the second hour of it. So we schedule 10 clients 8 times a week. That makes sense. So right now we had 5 clients scheduled at 1 o'clock today and another 5 at 2 o'clock. And we offer both in-person and virtual appointments. So if a client has a mover or somebody who can pick the furniture up for them, they can do the appointment remotely. And we have carts with a tablet on a base, and we wheel it around to show them so they can still choose. We allow our clients to choose everything. For us, that's one of our values, that people can make the choices of what they want in their appointment.
Gotcha. Rachel, in hearing this, does some of it sound familiar? Are there things that you would like to adopt moving forward? What are your thoughts?
Definitely. We tend to kind of run a similar thing here. I think we do more probably picking up and delivering because we do have the truck and trailer that I am able to drive. And so we're able to do that I think a little more, but I like the idea of like, and as far as the clients coming in to pick things, I do like that a lot. We had kind of stopped that because of COVID. Just having people, clients come into the building seemed a little risky for us. And so we had stopped doing that, but I have recently allowed clients to come in and pick their own things because I do think that that's important. I think that enables them the dignity. It's a certain amount of dignity that you get from being able to choose your own items. And of course, whenever we get items together for people, we always try to make things thoughtful. You know, I love matching, you know, the plates and the bowls and the dishes and making it cute and giving them holiday towels. You know, I save all the Christmas stuff for, you know, the winter and whatnot. So we always try to be thoughtful with the way that we choose things for the clients, but allowing them to come in is something that we probably will be doing more of and have just recently started to kind of reestablish that because, again, it enables them the dignity to be able to choose their own items. So that definitely sounds familiar. The referral system, kind of the same thing. Pretty much anybody that calls us, we're gonna take a referral from them. I like the idea of the kind of the virtual appointment too, though. That's a great idea. That's something we have not done. That I do think is a brilliant idea because not everybody can get down here, but we still want them to be able to choose their items. So I definitely like that. That's working for sure. That's a great idea.
Rachel, can you talk a little bit about you've really worked hard over the last year or so to grow our collaborations with other organizations, and I know that there's been times that there's been ebbing and flowing, and so can you talk a little bit about that process? When it's really busy, or when you're like, oh wow, maybe we don't even need to exist anymore, but then all of a sudden things start blowing up again. So.
That is kind of how things tend to go here. We'll go through a slower period where we maybe only have a couple of clients calling and then I freak out and I say, oh no, I don't even, there's no mission for me anymore. Nobody needs anything. Once Arch lost all of their own clients, we had our own housing program here at Arch, for those of you who don't know. And whenever that program came to an end, it was a little slower from that point because we had dedicated so much time and energy into getting items for our clients. We were always serving local agencies, but our clients did take up most of our energy. And so once that was over, it was kind of reconnecting with all of the local organizations to kind of say, hey, we're still here. And we have more capacity to help you now. We actually are not out of beds now because we're not serving our own clients. So we've been able to kind of reestablish and strengthen old connections. And we also have made some connections. We've joined Unitas, which is a referral platform. And that's brought us some referrals and some agencies that didn't really know that we were here. Also just going into the community and meeting people. It's funny how you'll just run into somebody. We did the pit count and made a contact with an agency in Abbeville that now we serve. We've already served 4 of their clients just since the pit count, but they didn't know that we existed before that. So it's important for us to strengthen those relationships with the local agencies. We have good relationships with the housing agencies as well. A lot of these housing agencies, donors call them trying to give them beds, sofas, things like that. They want to donate to the agency. So the agencies will send their donors to us with those items so that their clients can access those items whenever they're housed. And so local agencies are good about sending people to us that are trying to help them. And then local donation agencies like Habitat for Humanity Restore and the Salvation Army have started to send donors our way as well with things like mattresses, things that they don't take. And we send nicer things their way as well. Like I'll accept things that I don't usually accept, like home decor, clothing, things like that. When people come in with those items, I take them and I bring them to Salvation Army Restore because they're good to us and they send people our way. So it's important to have those relationships on both ends, on the donor end and on the client end, so that we're all looking out for each other and pulling our resources together to make sure that there's enough to go around for everyone.
Thank you. Sharon, does any of this sound familiar? Is there ebbing and flowing at Household Goods? Or are you all just completely busy all the time?
A little bit of both. Definitely, working with agencies where there's a lot of turnover with the staff. We'll have an agency refer to us, for years, and all of a sudden we don't hear from them. And then a year would go by and they'll be like, wow, I just started working there. I didn't know you existed. So keeping not just with the agency knowledge, but with the staff turnover, trying to make sure that people know that we're here is definitely an issue. We definitely have cycles to our donations and our, not so much our clients. Our clients are pretty steady year round. They tend to drop off a little bit in the summer, I think, because that's when a lot of the agents referring people are on vacation. And our donations, we really peak spring and summer. And like this time of year in the winter, they drop off because people don't really want to be cleaning out their houses when it's icy and snowy. For that, definitely, figuring out people want to bring us everything. And we give away about 60,000 items a year. And so we don't have the capacity to take all of the different things that people want to give us. So we have bins for an organization that takes clothing, and we have bins for an organization that takes books. But everything else, we're not quite as helpful as Rachel. We'll tell the donor like where to go. Like, why don't you take this to Restore? And we have a list of where people can take it. But I hear what Rachel's saying totally, because people just want you to take what they have. But our mission is really to take what we need. So we're probably a little bit stricter than Rachel is on that.
Have you seen the landscape change over the 13 years you've been there? And also, how did you navigate the pandemic? Did things change? Did they stay the same? What did it look like for household goods?
So definitely the landscape's changed since I've been here. When I started, a lot of people would come, they would have some of the basics, and they might have needed one or two things to round out their home. Maybe they were looking for a bed or they needed a table. Now, almost everybody we see needs to furnish an entire home. There's a couple of agencies that might get a bed or a table when they move out of a shelter, but for the most part, the people coming to us need everything from, silverware to beds to towels. COVID was hard. We're a 100% hands-on agency, and, switching to a remote piece, it was really hard because you can't give furniture away from home. The first thing we did when COVID started is we had some really great volunteers with incredible IT skills, and they developed a store where it was sort of, we took pictures of everything and put it online, and people could choose online, and then we would just load it curbside. And that worked out great when we were only furnishing a couple of people a day. But to take pictures of everything, the amount of time it took, and also what we didn't realize is how hard it is to do that on a phone. And most of our clients were using a phone to try to choose all of these items. And it was actually it was such a great idea, but it was sort of really just not practical. And so then we switched to Zoom. So we got some tablets. Originally, we would have clients come. We gave them one tablet so they could sit in their truck outside, and we would Zoom from inside. And then when we opened up, I think must have been 2021, the summer of 2021, we let people come in, but kept the Zoom option for people who can't get to Acton.
Gotcha. And what's something that you wish that you had known, or you wish the organization had known in earlier years? Impart your wisdom on us.
I think when Household Goods started, because since there was really no plan to really have an organization, it really grew organically. And our founders just took what came and they dealt with it. And I think I wish that I would have known to plan a little bit more, and not just in terms of space, but also what you want the rules to be. Like as an example, when they started, and for many years, even when I started, volunteers could just show up if they wanted to. They didn't have to sign up. It was just sort of, drop in when you can. And they wanted people to sign up, but it wasn't required. And so when I started, I remember coming in on a Monday morning and opening the door, and there's 10 U-Hauls outside, and I'm the only one in the building. And I am just hoping that another person walks in the door. And, so I think I wish I would have known to really set the rules up ahead of time, because it's much easier to loosen rules than it is to add them later. It took us a long time to get volunteers to sign up.
Gotcha.
years to switch that behavior. It's just as one example.
Thank you for that. Rachel, what do you see as Share House's biggest lesson learned so far?
Well, we've learned a lot of lessons here in the Share House so far, but I would say the most important lesson that we've learned here is that we are not going to be sustainable in the long term unless we make some changes with the way that we operate ourselves. We recognize that sustainability is super important, and finances are super important. And so what we've learned along the way is that we can't continue on the way that we've been going if we want to have any kind of longevity. And so that's been a lesson that we've had to learn. So we are looking for ways to kind of make this work moving forward, to make it something that is sufficient, something that can pay its bills and be able to survive in the long run, because it is super vital for the community. It's a very important service, but unfortunately, there's just no money for it. So for us, that's the most important lesson, is that we have to change. We have to adapt. We have to change. We have to grow, and we have to think outside of the box in order to be able to be successful here.
Gotcha. Okay, so do you have any questions for Sharon?
I didn't really know exactly what I was going to ask. I was going to kind of see, like, through the conversation, kind of what came up or whatever. But yes, I have huge questions about volunteers. So we do have a volunteer platform. We use that people could sign up and come and volunteer here. The problem that I have with volunteers a lot of times is that they don't necessarily show up after they sign up. So if you're relying on them to be there and then they're not, I've kind of had to develop a strategy where I only use volunteers for things that are not important. So if they don't show up, it's not a big deal to my day. It doesn't throw me off. But there have been times when I've tried to rely on volunteers to help me move furniture. Like, I got a volunteer that showed up. We got to go bring a couch upstairs today. And then the volunteer doesn't show up, and here I am just kind of like, oh, well, I guess I have to reschedule my whole day now on account of that. And I mean, you can't fire them, you can't be mad at them, you can't fuss at them. They're volunteers, they're volunteering their time. So I guess, how do you ensure that your volunteers are reliable, that they're going to show up, and how do you get the word out? Like, how are the people in your community so passionate about what you're doing that they're able to show up, 10 at a time, 15 at a time? How do you make that work? I know y'all been around for a long time, so I'm sure everybody knows who you are. But how do you get that reliable base of volunteers?
That's a great question, because some of our volunteers are extremely reliable. They look at it as a work. Somebody came in today and they said they had to leave early to go to a doctor's appointment. And she said, but I'll make up my time next week. You don't have to, you're volunteering, but thank you. I think for us, because, even we've been around for 33 years and we still rely on volunteers to, like, basically do all of the donation and distribution shifts. So right now there's a distribution shift going on, and there's no staff out there. It's all volunteers. We're straight up front with the volunteers that we're relying on you to do X. And if you can't make it, please let us know ahead of time so we can find somebody else. Because it's tough when nobody shows up. So that's part of our expectation. And I think because people see what happens when they're here if other volunteers don't show up. But it's hard because it's developing that culture of volunteering. And we have volunteer managers on duty. So the people on most of the shifts are reporting to another volunteer. And as they get to know them, oftentimes they don't want to let that person down. Like, they're willing to let the organization down maybe, but not somebody that they're sort of friends with. So building those volunteer teams and having consistent groups of people coming each day really helps, because they know each other and they want to help each other.
I imagine too, as you have volunteers who move up into a management position, that must increase their sort of emotional buy-in as well, right? Because they're in a leadership position, even though they're still a volunteer.
Yeah, some volunteers love that. And, they just want to be a leader and that's what they want to do. And other volunteers, especially people who've retired, are more like, I've been working my whole life. Just tell me what you want me to do. I will do it, but don't ask me anything.
Gotcha.
So it works for both.
So before we open it up to any questions, what's on the horizon for household goods? Are you all excited about anything? Are you just excited to get back to normal? What's going on with you guys?
So we just finished last year a capital campaign where we added on 8,000 square feet. So now our total building space is 28,000 square feet.
Wow.
And we have room to store about 12 either storage trailers or storage containers. So we just finished that. So what we're doing is we're really looking at improving the service for our clients. So one of the things that got worse for us and for our clients, especially during COVID, is the ability for some people to rent a truck or to get out to Acton. And so we've been raising money for a transportation assistance program where we're raising money to hire movers to deliver the furniture for them. And we group multiple clients together to keep the costs down. And also beds are one of the things that are really hard for us to keep enough of because a lot of the donated beds just aren't good quality. So we also started a fund to purchase beds when our inventory gets low. And so we're really looking at, improving the service we have so people can really make sure they have everything they need, and also to reach the people who didn't have the resources to get here in the past, but now would be able to access the furniture.
Wow. Well, I just want to open it up if any of you all have questions here in person, or if you are online, just take yourself off of mute if you have a question for Sharon or Rachel. Kara.
What is your volunteer base in numbers?
What is your volunteer base in numbers?
So we have about 1,000 different people coming each year, and we have about 45,000 volunteer hours.
Wow. Literally took my breath away. Okay.
Some of those are like individuals, but then we also have some groups that come in. So one group could be, 10 people for 4 hours. That could be 40 hours. But yeah, 45,000 hours a year is about what we need.
I have a question. Do you work with the formerly incarcerated? Is that a pipeline for household goods when they are reestablishing themselves in a home, if they're having to reestablish themselves in a home?
We do get some referrals, not a ton, but we do get some.
Gotcha. Anybody else have any questions? Online or yes?
Speaking of funding, monetary.
What's your primary funding, Sharon?
So we get 75% of our funding from individuals, and the majority of those donations are, probably $500 or less. We're really still very grassroots in our fundraising. We really rely on a lot of small donations that are just consistent year after year. And
Gotcha.
Then the rest of the funding is through grants and other organizations, churches, and other places that might support us.
Thank you. Anybody else online or in person?
Hi, this is Sabina with the Louisiana National Guard and Dana Albert, and we're trying to inquire with your area delivery when you do have things delivered, and I think Rachel would be the person that would be able to help us with that. We're in the Lafayette area.
Okay, great. So Anne and Rachel, y'all can get together and work that out? Great. Any other questions?
Yes, this is Marie with Nurse Family Partnership. I was wondering either for Sharon or Rachel. Of course, I've referred supplies to you all before, but wanted to make sure that is it only families that are in crisis, or is anyone they called? But you want to make sure that they're in crisis, like, maybe had a fire or flooding, whatever. Is it only crisis, or is it anyone that can call?
Sharon, you want to go first and just speak to what your rule of thumb is, and then we can answer specifically locally.
Sure. So for us, we would take a referral for anybody that the referring agency thinks that they need the furniture and they wouldn't be able to get it in any other way. So a lot of our families have been in crisis, but we also do have people that are just, they're working, they're, low income, and they're just, having a hard time making ends meet. So we really rely on the referring agency to just make the determination that, yeah, this person really does need the service. We don't have a strict crisis guideline.
Rachel, thank you. Rachel.
Yeah, same here, as long as the person is being referred by a local agency. It doesn't have to be specifically coming out of a crisis. Mostly what we deal with are individuals that are being housed out of homelessness specifically. So most of the agencies that we work with are agencies that are doing that work. But that being said, a church could call me, the Lafayette Parish School System calls me, the VA calls me, pretty much anybody who's low income that is a client of an agency can get anything from us that they need. So referrals from any agencies for us. I'm not picky about who they are. Again, like I said earlier, anybody that calls my phone, I'm probably going to help.
Okay, great. Thank y'all so much.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, do they ever get landlords or housing calling them to donate to them? Because I've had that happen in Abbeville, like, someone being evicted, you want to come pick this up.
Right. Sharon and Rachel, a question around, do you get landlords or property owners or managers that after an eviction contact you about picking up those items? Rachel, why don't you go ahead and start?
Yes, I do get phone calls like that, either from the agency that the client is with. Sometimes they'll call me and say, hey, our client got evicted. There's this stuff in this house if you want to come and get it. And yes, sometimes landlords do call us to try to get us to pick up whatever we can use out of households. We just make sure that whenever they call us that they understand that we are not in any way guaranteeing that we are going to clean out the house. Because a lot of times I think that's what they expect. They expect us to go there and take everything and just clean it out for them. So we make sure that they understand before we go that we're only going to take what we can use. And so that's the important thing there. But yes, we do get landlords that call us when properties have been left.
Sharon?
Yeah, we don't get as many calls just because we're outside of the city, although it does happen like in more of our pickup area. But we would encourage them to bring the items to us. But same as Rachel, we're not going to do a clean out. We'll take what we want and leave the rest.
Right. Anybody else? Well, I want to be mindful of your time. Thank you so much for being willing to share your work. Sharon, thank you for taking a cold call from a total stranger and just hopping on a Zoom. I am sure that there will be times that Rachel and I both call you and say, hey, what do we do about this? So thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your experiences with us today.
It is my pleasure. Thanks so much. It's nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. So on the heels of that, I'm going to open this up for updates from any partner agencies. I do want to make one ARCH announcement, and that is on the heels of what Rachel was talking about sustainability, which with the ARCH Share House, we are going to be asking a $25 suggested donation from people when we go to pick up items from their home. So although most of you all are practitioners in some way or another, just know that and help us spread that word that in order for us, because right now we're paying for truck repair and gas and salary for Rachel and what have you. And of course, we'd like to expand our services as well. So we will be asking for a $25 donation, which is similar to the protocol that Household Goods and other organizations around the country have around pickups. But again, you see things on the curb. Please encourage your neighbors in your neighborhood Facebook groups that instead of putting something to the curb and letting it get rained on, bring it to the share house. Or if they are willing to make a suggested donation, then we can come pick those items up and not let it sit out at the street for weeks until the city picks it up. So Rachel, was there anything you wanted to piggyback about that? Okay. Any other partner yes.
So you're asking for donations for people that are donating,
Individuals, yeah.
but not those that are receiving?
No, we would not want to compound their burden of need with a suggest. Of course, that happens occasionally, and we get all kinds of we get people who bring their stuff and they make a donation, which is lovely. But especially to offset the cost of gas and the truck use, we want to start encouraging the idea that, you know, as all of you all know, in your agencies, operations cost, and that's just the truth of the matter. So. Oh yeah, and they can absolutely drop off Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 10 to 3 for free. And I think Rachel would be delighted by that. So, so yeah. All right.
So Elsa,
yes, Marie.
Yeah, this is Maria.
Yeah.
So what I want to add to that for volunteers is I'm going to use the strategy that we use with Nurse Family Partnership for those who have utilized the services. And you know, if I refer someone, one of the things that I'm going to mention is for them to become volunteers. Pay it forward. If you know that you were able to house your full house with furniture or even part, then use some of that. Give an hour, 2 hours of your time to pay it forward for an agency that has helped you when you really needed it. So I'm going to use that to encourage those clients that utilize your services to pay it forward, to do something. Give an hour. So that's going to be my way of getting this, because I love what y'all do. I wish I could stop working and just go volunteer my time there. Really do, because I love volunteering. But I think it's a great thing to help people in time of need. So that's what I'm going to do on my end.
Thank you, Marie. And if anybody else is able to maybe spread that word as well, you know, and of course, Marie, so there's always a retirement plan. When you're ready, I'm sure Rachel will take you at Share House as many hours as you're willing to volunteer. All right, I just want to make sure that there's an opportunity for other updates, not Share House related, although we could talk about it all day. Are there other agencies here in person that would like to give an update of any kind? We did pretty expansive updates last month, but want to offer this space. Okay, none here in person. How about online? Anybody online have an update they'd like to share with the group?
Yes, hi, my name is Paula Duncan, and I'm with Ashmay Seeds of Abraham. I think I've met a few of you before, but I just wanted to give an update that we held our first, what is going to be a continual annual Mardi Gras, BRA, that we collected donations for feminine hygiene products on this past Sunday downtown at Beaujolais Bookstore. We collected quite a few, and we donated those items to the Extra Mile, and we're looking forward to it continuing to grow. Already planning for next year, surrounding Mardi Gras to be Mardi Gras, and so we would definitely keep you all, you know, in contact with the information as we spread it out and grow it.
I love that. That is so cute, and everyone will remember it. So thank you for offering that, and keep us in the loop. Will help amplify your voice.
Thank you.
Any other updates? Just take yourself off mute. Okay, well, I want to remind you again that you can reach out to any of the ARCH staff by our first names at archacadiana.org, depending on who you would like to get in contact with. If you're unsure, email me, Elsa, E-L-S-A, at archacadiana.org. If you have anything that you need me or a staff member or maybe a connection to another agency, please don't hesitate. And again, I want to remind you that this is our last Thursday monthly meeting. We're moving to Wednesdays. We have a number of agencies that have conflicts on this day. And so next month, we will be on Wednesday, March 22nd at noon. So February and March this year have the exact same dates. So instead of Thursday, the 23rd, will be Wednesday, the 22nd. So thank you all so much for coming out here, and I will take just a minute or two before the HMIS meeting. So thank you everyone online, and we will see you next month. Yes. Oh, there's a question. Yes. Paula, I'm putting it in the chat. Rachel at archacadiana.org. All right, and Paula, if you need anything else, please reach out. Yes?
Share house hours if you don't have it.
Yes, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and I don't know, PH, right? Saturdays, 10 to 3. And that's at 211A Gilbo Road. Hey, and don't forget that if it's Gilbo, it's behind it, so turn on Sycamore so that you can go to that loading dock area.
That's the problem.
That's for drop-offs, yes. Pardon me? Yeah, and pickups, yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to be closing this meeting out. Thank you again, and see you next month.